The courtroom smelled of old wood and stale air. Daniel Mercer sat rigid on the bench, his eyes locked on the man smirking just a few feet away. "Ethan Cole," the judge's voice echoed, "in light of your cooperation with prosecutors and due to time served, this court accepts the plea bargain. You are free to go." The gavel struck. Daniel's vision blurred, his heart hammered against his ribs. Free, the man who had butchered his wife and daughter was walking out into the world again. Ethan glanced back over his shoulder, his grin curling into something cruel. Their eyes met, and Ethan mouthed a single word. "Thanks." Daniel didn't speak, didn't scream, didn't collapse like everyone expected. He simply stood, straightened his jacket, and whispered to himself, "If the law won't punish you, Ethan, I will." The world thought grief consumed him. Daniel sold his home, quit his job, and disappeared. Old friends whispered, "He couldn't take it, he's broken." But he wasn't broken, he was preparing. By day, he was just another man drifting through cities under false names. By night, he was a student of vengeance. He studied forensics, criminal psychology, anything that could teach him how killers thought. He practiced at shooting ranges until his hands were steady as stone. He learned to vanish into shadows, to bypass locks, to silence alarms. Every year, on the anniversary of his family's death, he'd pour a glass of whiskey, stare at their photo, and whisper, "Not yet, but soon." Then 10 years later, the plan was ready. Rain poured over the city the night Ethan Cole stumbled out of a bar, arm around a giggling woman. He hadn't changed much, cocky, careless, untouchable. When Ethan waved down a cab, he didn't notice the black sedan creeping at the corner. By the time he stumbled into his driveway, a rag pressed against his face. The woman screamed, but a dark figure shoved her aside. Seconds later, Ethan collapsed into darkness. Ethan woke to the clinking of chains, his arms stretched above his head, wrists cuffed to a pipe. A single bulb swayed overhead. A monitor flickered on. Daniel's face filled the screen, older now, grayer, but his eyes burned like fire. 10 years, Ethan, Daniel said, his voice calm, steady. 10 years I waited for this moment. Tonight, justice comes for you. Ethan chuckled, low and hoarse. Justice? You mean revenge? You've wasted a decade of your life for me. Daniel leaned closer to the camera. For them, he hissed. For my wife, for my little girl. Ethan smirked. You don't even know the truth, do you? Daniel's brow furrowed. The truth is you slaughtered them. No, Ethan said, his smile widening. I didn't kill them because I wanted to. I killed them because someone paid me to. Daniel's breath caught. You're lying. Am I? Ethan tilted his head. You ever wonder why your wife, sweet, innocent Claire, died screaming in her own kitchen? Why did your daughter get caught in the crossfire? It wasn't random, Danny boy. She dug too deep. She found something she wasn't supposed to. Daniel shook his head violently. No, you're just trying to twist me. Think about it, Ethan pressed. Her boss, her brother, that politician she worked with, they had more to lose than you could imagine. I was just the knife. They were the hand holding it. Silence filled the basement. Daniel's pulse roared in his ears. You're bluffing, he whispered. Ethan leaned forward, grinning. Then why don't you check? The conspiracy. Days later, Daniel returned shaken. His walls were covered in photos, documents, and red strings connecting names. You weren't lying, Daniel muttered. His voice trembled, not with fear but rage. It was them, my brother-in-law, her company, the people I trusted. Ethan tugged at his chains. So what now? Kill me and let the real devils walk free. Daniel stared into Ethan's eyes. Then slowly, he unlocked the chains. We do this together, Daniel said, but the second you cross me, I'll finish what I started. Ethan grinned, rubbing his wrists. Now you're speaking my language. Over the next year, Daniel and Ethan became an unholy duo. One man fueled by vengeance, the other by chaos. Each death was meticulous. A businessman drowned in his own pool. A politician's car exploded on a deserted road. A brother-in-law was found hanging in his study. The world saw accidents, Daniel saw justice. And Ethan saw an opportunity. One night, Daniel woke to find himself chained in the very basement he had built. His chest tightened as the monitor flickered to life. Ethan's face appeared, smug as ever. 10 years, Danny. 10 years you thought you were the hunter, but all along you were the prey. Daniel struggled against the cuffs. What are you talking about? You didn't destroy the conspiracy, Ethan said, laughing. You finished it. You killed everyone who could tie me to your family's murder. Now there's no one left but you. Daniel's eyes widened in horror. You used me. Ethan leaned closer to the camera. Oh, I freed you, I gave you purpose, and now the world will see you for what you really are, a monster. When police raided the house weeks later, they found Daniel Mercer's basement lined with photos, documents, and grisly recordings of murders. To the world, Daniel wasn't a grieving husband, he was a serial killer. Ethan Cole had vanished without a trace. No records, no sightings, just whispers of a ghost. Detectives reviewing the case kept returning to one question. Was Daniel Mercer a monster, or just a man who stared into the abyss too long? Rain lashed against the windows of a rundown motel somewhere in Nevada. Ethan Cole stood at the sink, staring at his reflection. 10 years ago, he was a convict, a killer on a leash. Today, the world saw him as a ghost, nameless, faceless, free. Daniel Mercer was dead, at least to the public. The newspapers had painted him as a madman, a grieving husband who snapped and became a serial killer. And Ethan was nowhere in those articles. He smirked, sipping whiskey straight from the bottle. Checkmate, Danny boy. But not everyone believed the headlines. In Philadelphia, Detective Maria Vega sat hunched over her desk, the Mercer files spread out before her. She whispered, "None of this adds up." Her partner frowned. "Vega, the case is closed." Mercer confessed in his own videos, "It's done." Vega shook her head. "No, I've watched those tapes 100 times. Daniel never once looks like a man enjoying the kill. He looks pushed, guided, and who's missing in all this?" Her partner hesitated. "Ethan Cole." Vega nodded. "Exactly. He vanished the moment Mercer started killing. That's not a coincidence, that's orchestration." Meanwhile, Ethan thought he was safe. New passport, new identity, a stack of cash stolen from one of Daniel's victims. Until one night, he returned to his motel room and found an envelope taped to the mirror. Inside was a photo, his photo, taken that very morning. On the back, 3 words were scrawled. "I'm not dead." Ethan's smirk faltered. His hand tightened on the photo until it crumpled. "Impossible," he muttered. "I chained him, I left him." But doubt crept in like a shadow. 2 weeks later, Ethan woke to the sound of a voice in the dark. "10 years you were my obsession," the voice rasped. "Now I'm yours." Ethan shot up, grabbing the gun under his pillow, but the room was empty, just the faint flicker of a TV turning on by itself. On the screen was Daniel Mercer's face, bruised, bloodied, but very much alive. "Hello, Ethan." Ethan's grip on the gun trembled. "No, you're dead. I left you for the cops." Daniel smiled coldly. "They didn't keep me." Detective Vega's investigation collided with Ethan's paranoia. She tracked the money trail, piecing together the conspiracy Daniel had uncovered. Finally, she stood in Daniel's old basement, staring at the wall of red strings and photos. Her partner muttered, "Looks like the ramblings of a lunatic." Vega shook her head. "No, this isn't madness, this is a map, and whoever was helping him, they're still out there." On the wall, she noticed something strange, an empty space in the center, where one photo had been ripped away. The caption beneath it still remained. "The ghost." Ethan grew more erratic. Every alley looked like a trap. every shadow whispered Daniel's name. Until one night, in a deserted parking garage, Ethan spotted him. Daniel Mercer, alive, standing at the far end, pale under the harsh fluorescent lights. "You're supposed to be dead," Ethan spat, raising his gun. Daniel tilted his head. "You should have killed me yourself." Ethan fired bang, 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 but when the smoke cleared, Daniel was gone. Only a projector remained, still casting Daniel's image against the wall. A whisper echoed through the garage. "You're not the hunter anymore, Ethan, you're the prey." Detective Vega received a package on her desk the next morning. Inside was a single USB drive. She plugged it in, a video played. Daniel's voice, calm, controlled. "Detective Vega, you're closer than you think. You want Ethan Cole, follow the trail I left you, but be careful, he isn't the only ghost in this story." The screen went black. Vega exhaled slowly. Jesus Christ, Daniel Mercer's alive. And in a smoky motel room across the country, Ethan Cole smashed his mirror in fury, whispering, "All right, Danny boy, if it's war you want, it's war you'll get." The desert was silent under a blood-red sunset. A battered sedan pulled off a dirt road, its headlights cutting through the dust. Inside sat Ethan Cole, his face twisted with rage. He hadn't slept in days, not since the videos started. Not since Daniel Mercer, the man he swore he'd left for dead, came back to haunt him. "Show yourself, Danny," Ethan growled into the empty air. "You want me? Fine, let's finish this." A voice answered, low and steady. "I already did." Ethan spun, gun raised, but the barrel of another weapon pressed against the back of his neck. Daniel stepped from the shadows, leaner, scarred, but alive. His eyes were void of pity. Ethan chuckled nervously. Well, the ghost himself. You know, you had me for a minute there. I really lost my mind." Daniel leaned closer. "You did." He slammed Ethan's head against the car hood, cuffed his wrists, and dragged him toward an abandoned mine shaft. Inside, a single bulb swung from the ceiling, illuminating walls covered in photos. Ethan's victims, Daniel's family, and most damning, all the men and women Ethan had manipulated Daniel into killing. "This is where it ends," Daniel said coldly. Ethan sneered through bloodied lips. "You don't get it, do you? Kill me, and what changes? You'll still be a fugitive, still a murderer. The law will never see you as anything but a monster." Daniel studied him in silence, then crouched low. "I'm not here for the law's justice, I'm here for mine." Ethan laughed, unafraid. "You think killing me will bring them back? Your wife, your little girl, they're gone, Danny. You've wasted 10 years chasing a ghost." Daniel's jaw clenched. His hand trembled on the knife at his side. Ethan leaned forward, whispering like poison, "Deep down, you're just like me." Daniel didn't lash out. Instead, he pressed play on a nearby laptop. The screen filled with Ethan's own recordings, confessions, taunts, all captured from the basement years ago. Ethan froze, his smirk faltered. Daniel whispered, "Every word you ever said to me I saved. Every lie, every name, every admission. Detective Vega has the files now." Ethan's face twisted in panic. You set me up." Daniel shook his head. "No, I set you free once, never again." Daniel dragged Ethan to the edge of the mine shaft. The darkness below seemed endless. Ethan thrashed, cursing. Wait, you need me alive. You want the truth? I'll give it to you, just do." Daniel silenced him with a single look. "The truth is simple. You took everything from me, and now I take everything from you." Ethan's final scream echoed as Daniel shoved him into the abyss. The crash of his body against the rocks below was the only sound for miles. Daniel stared into the darkness, his breathing steady, his face unreadable. For the first time in 10 years, he felt the weight lift. Justice wasn't blind, justice wasn't fair, justice was personal. Weeks later, Detective Maria Vega stood over the files Daniel had sent. Ethan Cole's voice filled the interrogation room speakers as his confessions played. "We've got him," her partner whispered. "Even dead, Mercer gave us everything." Vega nodded slowly, but she couldn't shake one question. Daniel Mercer was gone, vanished into the wind. No one knew if he was dead, hiding, or hunting something else. But somewhere out in the deserts of America, a scarred man looked up at the stars, whispered his family's names, and finally allowed himself a smile. The law hadn't given him justice. He took it. Daniel finally gets the justice he wanted, not through courts, not through police, but with his own hands. Ethan's dead, the conspiracy exposed, and Daniel, he disappears, leaving behind the legend of a man who waited 10 years for revenge and claimed it on his own terms. Is one of the most wanted men in the States. If you enjoyed this chilling video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe now to Vault of Crimes, and join the heist of true crime enthusiasts who dare to unlock crime cases from the ever-refreshing vault.